The Cowboys OT is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Sleep Number. The new Sleep Number 360 smart bed helps everyone from parents to pros improve their performance through quality sleep. Only at a Sleep Number store. And by NFL Game Pass. You'll never miss a game again. Enjoy full access to coaches' film and game replays from Week 1 to the Super Bowl. Subscribe at DallasCowboys.com/Game Pass.
Cowboys OT coming at you from the Star in Frisco. Just moments ago, Cowboys fall 34-24 final at AT&T Stadium to Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. Welcome into the Star. I'm joined by Bryan, Broaddus, and Nate Newton as always. And if you're a Cowboys fan, you're disappointed maybe because that one was coming up to be a game at the end there. And all along, there were too many mistakes that the Cowboys were not able to overcome ultimately. Nate?
Too many penalties, too many turnovers, not playing sharp, not playing crisp, not doing the things you're supposed to do. They did what we wanted to do, the teams. They controlled the time possession over 36 minutes. They scored touchdowns. I'm talking about running touchdowns. They were almost perfect in the red zone, so they had a great game, Broaddus.
Yeah, no, the Packers did a nice job with the way their game plan was, and for them to get their running game going, which really had been non-existent throughout the early part of the season. Give them a lot of credit for that. Their offensive line controlled the line of scrimmage. Poor performance, I think, a little bit by Leighton Vander Esch. The way he missed some tackles in that game, was out of position a couple times. Some of those uncharacteristic things that we see for him. But I think the way this game came down to Dallas wasting too many possessions. There were way too many times that the offense had the football that ended drives that were on the Green Bay 38, the Green Bay 44, the Green Bay 35, Dallas 47, and the Green Bay 36 with a missed field goal. You're wasting those possessions without points. That was a big, big part of this football game.
All right, let's head out to AT&T Stadium for the first word presented by Dr. Pepper to hear from our friends at DallasCowboys.com, guys.
Thanks, Lindsay. Nick, I'm not even sure how to unpack this right after the game. I mean, this place was so silent going into the fourth quarter.
Right.
Then it feels like a playoff game at the end. Ultimately, though, just too many mistakes early from the Cowboys, even at the end with the missed field goal. They just couldn't get out of their own way overall.
Yeah, I mean, the first quarter felt like about 6 hours ago. Maybe it was, but that's where they lost the game. Amari Cooper had one of the best games stat-wise. Almost had single-game record, and his drop pass early in the game that led to an interception was huge. And so you're right. It was similar to the Saints game last week, except for Aaron Rodgers was playing quarterback. And so every time you mess up, he went and made plays.
Just inflated, right, by the way the Cowboys were able to move the ball. 563 total yards. Dak sets a career high, I believe, in passing yards.
Hollow.
But it doesn't feel that way, right?
Yeah.
Based on the early hole. I mean, 31-3 at one point in this game.
Yeah, because, Aaron Rodgers, you just keep giving him chances that they're going to go down, and, he'll take what you give him. And we'll talk about that here in a second. But the way that they move the ball, but I just thought early in the game, the interceptions, Dak, stat-wise, like we said, pretty good game stat-wise, but, too many interceptions, missed plays early in the game, and here they are losing by 10.
A couple other interceptions that could have happened in that game. Defensively, what did you see? I mean, Aaron Jones,
wow.
Rodgers' passer rating is not what it probably could have been based on the way they were able to run the ball Green Bay tonight.
Yeah, I just thought, Aaron Jones kind of kept them off balance. They did what they wanted. They got down there, and they just couldn't get to Aaron Rodgers early in the game. And I thought that was big. But Rob, I mean, this team's got other issues too. I mean, maybe kicker is something that I think is going to be a problem here moving forward.
That Lyle Collins leaves the game. He came into the game banged up. They've got some injuries. It's a situation where 2 weeks in a row they had a chance to win the game, and they can't get out of their own way.
Yeah, and I definitely think that this is a good team. It's still early, but they're not what we thought we were. We thought this team was going to be much better, and they haven't faced anyone really that talented yet until these last two games, and they lost. So jury's still out, but it's a 3-2 football team that they definitely got to get better in a hurry.
And find some answers. That's Nick Eatman. Thanks for you guys watching at home. Back to Lindsay in the studio.
Thank you guys. Post-game in that locker room is not going to be fun when there were just so many small mistakes and uncharacteristic things from this team. And right now, because it's fresh on our minds, we could talk about the 2 missed field goals that Brett Maher had and just the status of where he is for this team. You've said it, Bryan. There's been so many times in Jason Garrett's career where these games are decided by a field goal, really tight games. You cannot have that.
Well, there was questions about Brett Maher coming into this season, and and then we were all in Oxnard and we were watching him, and the questions kind of continued on, and then all of a sudden it's like, no, everything's fine, and everything, we'll just keep going how we're going. And question goes, well, who's out there? Who do you want to go get? New England had to go get a kicker this week. Mike Nugent goes out there. He misses like his first extra point of the day. So, I mean, that's really kind of where you're at right now. What kicker would you like to bring in here? But something needs to be done in that direction. No, you needed that field goal. You needed that field goal to at least have a chance to get the football back. That was not a hard field goal for him to miss. The field goal he did miss was a 54-yarder, though, earlier in the game, and that's something he'd been pretty good at doing. So, 0 for 2 in the field goals. It's just part of a bigger problem that this team had today.
And not coming together, the tackling bothered me tremendously. Aaron Jones came in and had a great performance. 19 carries for 170 yards, 4 TDs, and then he caught like 7 passes for maybe 75 yards, a 10.7 average, 22 of long. That dude had a very dominant day. And I talked to some people earlier in their camp, and they said if we could outrush Zeke, or we can have better numbers than Zeke coming into this game with Aaron Jones, they thought they would win the game. And I started laughing. I thought it was a joke, but through poor tackling, great red zone running for them, they did it.
Yeah, they did a lot better in the red zone than they did against Philadelphia last time that they played. The last time out, that Thursday game, maybe they went back and reevaluated some of the things that they needed to do. But the Cowboys, they just did not play well enough in the front 7. And then, you look at what happened on the back end. It wasn't like Aaron Rodgers was killing them, but they had some guys that were open. They made some plays when they had to. The Green Bay offense had rhythm to it. The Cowboys defense had no rhythm to it at all. Anytime they couldn't get close to Rodgers, it wasn't until the second half that they started putting a little bit more pressure on him. But they allowed him to escape in the first half. He made some plays. He kept some drives going. And ultimately, that's the things that kill you when you play Aaron Rodgers. When you don't get him on the ground and you allow him to make plays, he's able to finish those drives.
All right, you're seeing Jerry Jones down there at AT&T Stadium. We'll have that for you later in the show. And next up, we'll go over all the highlights from tonight's loss at AT&T Stadium that puts the Cowboys 3-2 on the season. More to come. Welcome back to Cowboys OT. Before we get into the highlights, fellas, is it tougher when you have a game like this that it actually came kind of close at the end? Does that make it even worse for you?
Well, no, it's why you play 2 halves. We talk about adjustments and what you're able to do and how you're able to overcome some things. But yeah, what's disappointing though, Lindsay, is the opportunities you had in the second half, you had in the first half, and you didn't take advantage of them. I think that's the most disappointing thing.
And the coach will come back and build off of that. He would say, hey, this is what we did in the first half versus what we did in the second half. And he'll try to build off of that. But, this is a very disappointing loss.
All right, let's go over the highlights tonight. Take a look at some of the things that went wrong for the Cowboys early on in the game. And here's the pass that Bryan was Nick earlier, was referring to. This was 6. He was really close. It was probably going to be a touchdown, if not a field goal.
Better pass. I think you just got to throw a better pass. Yeah, it hit his hands. He got to catch it. But we needed a better pass.
All right, Aaron Jones all day long. 4 touchdowns on the day. This was an 18-yarder.
Yeah, the Packers have been struggling with the run game, like I mentioned, and Aaron Jones gave them a big lift today.
I tell you what, big gaping holes. These running through tackles, they just made plays.
There's some little backyard football for you. That's a lot of what Aaron Rodgers does, just scoots and slings it around. And here we go. Another one from Aaron Jones, second of the day.
Yeah, right there. Van Der Esch at the point of attack just got overwhelmed, and they were able to get into the end zone.
Dak Prescott intercepted. Tell me what you guys see here.
Well, he's just got to, he's thinking it's going to be man coverage going across. Troy Aikman talked about it in the broadcast, and he just didn't see the cornerback sitting right there underneath. He think he's going to get man, but in fact they were in the zone.
There's the bye-bye, Nate.
That's the bye-bye wave. That's kind of disappointing, kind of embarrassing, but it happens.
All right. My highlights are messed up here. Where are we? Dak Prescott is this a long game that we're going to see right here? There was a couple chunk plays from Prescott today.
Yeah, it's nice to have Michael Gallup back in the game. You know, you could see what he was able to do. This one became a rough game for these receivers because they were having to run every single route when they got behind. That's a tough game for a wide receiver to have to do.
Another great catch by Amari Cooper right here. The coach kind of lost it and slammed down his thing. I don't know what he said.
Penalty worthy?
I'll tell you what, you know, the official, this is when they make it personal a little bit. You know, they have to understand, though, there's emotion in the game. But, you know, shame on Jason Garrett, too, though, for allowing that to kind of take over there and make that. But they made that, they got the penalty, but were able to get it back.
All right.
Right there, tip play. Great battle for the ball there, but tip play. They came up, they were just alert all day. They was making plays, and right there you get a holding.
So hands to the face, and then another unsportsmanlike conduct, I believe, for taking off the helmet right there. So, yeah, that was, you know, the Cowboys got a break here, though. They were able to get down there near the goal line, and then Zeke just, you know, determined running right there. Yeah, we've seen two backs, you know, Jones and Zeke, very determined running today.
All right, this was huge from the young rusher Dorrance Armstrong. I mean, Rodgers was untouchable all day.
Well, they didn't play the twist very well inside, and that's how they've been getting sacks, is running the twist stunts, able to get Armstrong inside, guard didn't pick him up, and they get the sack.
And this was just a bad decision. I mean, it looked like there was maybe some penalty there that wasn't thrown.
The keys to turnovers is to score off of turnovers. You can't turn over, then come back and turn over.
All right, this is a beautiful, beautiful run by Amari Cooper. It's almost a little too late.
Second effort, third effort. Just play your heart out,
Just balance, you know, all day. I mean, he had the one bad play, but overall, I thought Amari Cooper was outstanding.
All right, Dak Prescott under pressure a lot today, guys. The offensive line injuries were piling up with Lyle Collins leaving the game.
Smith brothers.
Yeah, the Smith brothers. I'll tell you what, give Brandon Knight some credit for coming in the game at right tackle. That could have been an absolute disaster for the Cowboys, and I felt like he held his own there when he had to play.
Relentless hustle, fighting to the end. They kept playing through it and had a chance there at the end to try to make a kick, you know, to try to have a chance at an onside kick, and it never materialized.
Great effort from Randall Cobb there to pick up the first, and this is
so Philly moves on the right side. And like you said earlier when it was off air, that this should have had nothing to do with a chip-in kick.
Yeah.
But evidently it did.
Oh, he's got to make this field goal. It's only 33 yards, and his team needs him to make this field goal and then come back with an incredible onside kick and try and at least get the football back for an opportunity.
You look at these final stats, and they look like us. When we have a good game, that 36 plus time of possession, the rushing yards, that's us.
This is the second week in a row the time of possession has been identical. Last week with the Saints, it was 36-23 with the Cowboys.
Yeah, that's a problem, though. You know, again, the Cowboys just dug too deep of a hole to get out of. They had an opportunity. You know, if they could have just gone toe-to-toe, if they'd played in the second half or the play in the first half like they played in the second half and just gone toe-to-toe, and if they were trading body blows that way, you know, this might have been even a different game that way. The 3 turnovers, though, were huge in this game. I mean, it took the Cowboys out of any opportunity to get points.
100%.
Yeah.
When you play against a number one quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, you have to go in with a mindset that we're going to throw the ball. We're going to make things happen. And we didn't do that, I think, often enough, early enough. And I understand that you want to establish a running back, but this was about Zeke and this was about Aaron Rodgers, and we didn't start off fast enough with that.
All right, we got to take a quick break. We have much more coming for you here on OT. We'll get a lot of stuff from AT&T Stadium coming in as the Cowboys fall to the Packers 34-24. Cowboys OT. As we are here at the Star in Frisco, we want to send it out to AT&T Stadium as we hear from Jerry Jones, who is meeting with the media down in the tunnel near the locker room.
Mr. Jones, is this more an indictment of the way you guys played or a compliment to their quarterback?
You know what? Riders can go in here. Well, let's start by complimenting their quarterback. And he didn't disappoint as far as what he is to compete against. With him out there, it was a daunting task to dig as big a hole as we did. with him quarterbacking, and frankly, them playing as solid as they were playing, we dug such a hole there early. I thought, though, that as a Cowboy fan, I particularly was impressed with how they competed individually. I thought of Woozy's hit that he came up and made was inspirational, that he made it there in the fourth quarter. Those are the kinds of things that really are encouraging about individual competitiveness with our team. We've got mistakes that we made early and throughout that everybody's aware of, and I'm not being trite about them. But you can't get behind a team like that, those numbers, where we were, and really not expect to be disappointing. Our team didn't understand that, though, and that's the best thing for me tonight. Our team didn't understand right at the end of that game in the last 2 minutes, 3 minutes, that they couldn't win this game. And that you can build from. We got great talent here. We got some things that we can do better, but we've got a spirit that really is encouraging.
Jerry, after two.
Your thoughts on Jerry's response, Nate? His tone?
Yeah, the team is young. They got no quit in them and everything. But still, I will say this until this show go off. I didn't like how we started this game. I wanted to come out just guns a-blazing. And yes, we got a turnover, but that's going to happen in the game. But we should have just stuck with it. Once they scored 7, we should have tried to answer with 7. I'm talking about through the air.
Yeah, I think this was disappointing from the aspect of the last 2 weeks. You've lost to teams that are probably going to be in the playoff picture. And now you're behind the 8 ball in that way. You know, you had an opportunity at home. Green Bay was down a couple of players. You know, you had the ability to come out here and kind of take control, kind of get things going back on the right way, you know, with some games coming up that you can, you know, maybe take a hold of this division. Now you've walked yourself all the way back to Philadelphia, you know, and now they're looking at you saying, okay, we're tied with you. And that's that's what's going to happen from now on, though. This division is going to be tough. And when you have to find a way to win games, you've got to go out there and do that. They gave one away last week, and this week they dug, as Jerry Jones said, they dug too deep of a hole to get out of, and now they're tied at 3-2 in this division.
Quick break here from the studio. When we come back, we'll hear from the head coach on everything, and gosh, I'll try to find out when the last time he got a flag on the sideline was. It's got to be a long time. We'll be back soon. We are back here on the Cowboys OT from the Star in Frisco, but not for long. We're going to go out and catch head coach Jason Garrett at the podium out at AT&T Stadium.
Here's Jason Garrett, brought to you by Pepsi, proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
Jason obviously tough first half. Couldn't really get anything going. What exactly happened in the first half there?
Yeah, the biggest issue on offense in the first half were just the turnovers. I thought we ran the ball well. We were right down the field on them. Makeable throw and catch to Amari on the first one, comes out and they intercept it, and then we're driving again, and Dak makes the decision, probably forced the ball a little bit, probably should have checked the ball down. So I thought the mix of run and pass was really good, and we were moving the ball down the field, but the 2 turnovers really hurt us.
They gashed you in the running game some, especially. Did that kind of keep you on your heels defensively?
Yeah, that was the biggest issue on defense, is they were able to run the ball. They ran the ball inside on us when they got down in the red zone a couple times, which is really uncharacteristic of our defense. That's the thing we do as well as anything. So, do the gap discipline and just physically getting off of blocks and making plays across the board wasn't consistent enough, particularly early on in the game. I thought it got better as the game went on, but they ran the ball too easily against us.
Did they do anything you weren't expecting from film?
Not really.
What happened on the replay challenge where you were flagged for unsportsmanlike conduct?
Yeah, obviously on that play, we had a great view of it, and they called it an incompletion. So it was such a big play in the game. You have to use your flag there. We had already challenged a potential pass interference earlier. So in that situation, you're going to have to use the flag to get the call correct, or you're not going to have that for later in the game. So obviously, I didn't handle that situation as well as I should have. I knew we were going to get the play because I saw it, and unfortunately, we had to use the flag there. And he made that decision to throw a flag on me.
Jason, 2 first-place teams, 2 losses. What does this say about your club and where they are right now?
Yeah, not really in the business of that. Just really in the business of getting back to work and trying to get better. You know, our goal every week is to get better each and every day in practice and get better from week to week. And we'll continue to strive to do that. 2 challenging games. Didn't get it done in either of them the last couple of weeks. We'll learn from the experience and hopefully grow, get stronger, and get better as we go.
So there's a lot of directions we could go right now, but I want to go to Dak Prescott. Where do you kind of go if you've had such a high start to the season, and in the past 2 games, it just hasn't been good enough? It hasn't been good enough. So where do you kind of rally and go from here?
You just go back to the drawing board. You see what you've done well as a quarterback. You can't be uneven, and we got the right guy here. Dak is an even-minded guy. I mean, he gets sometimes wrapped up in the game, but that's just what you do. But this guy is the calm guy. He'll go back. He'll be the first one. He'll probably looking at the film now. He's probably asking Mr. Blackwell, hey, do you have this film ready? He'll go back. He'll look at it. Him and Kitten will look at it, and all the head coaches will look at it because they're all quarterbacks, and they'll come to a solution here. I mean, check downs.
I'll tell you what, though, him in the second half, he gave you a chance. You know, I mean, and I know the interception looked bad and all that, but you know what, his ability, and I like what Nate's saying. I've always been a big guy of run the football, try and have balance, and I've also had questions coming into the season, do you put everything on Dak Prescott's back? But if you're going to play with Michael Gallup and Amari Cooper and those guys, and they can't cover those guys, well, maybe Nate's right about this. Maybe you have to find a way to throw the football, be consistent at doing that, score the points you need to do, and then supplement it with the running game. I mean, that to me, you know, I understand when people say, oh, you're running on first down, why you keep running on first down? Well, the play action stuff, if Dak Prescott continues to throw the ball, and you know, they're going to load him up and let him throw. And Nate might be right about that. That might be the best avenue that they have right now, especially if they're down offensive linemen. You know, let's see what's going to happen with Lyle Collins. Let's see what's going to happen another week, you know, with Collins as well. So, you know, those are the kinds of things you have to kind of think about a little bit.
Lyle Collins went to the locker room to get x-rays. We don't have a word on him yet. We'll let you know when we do. Nate, what's your reaction to last week Zeke having 35 yards on 18 carries, this week 62 yards on 12 carries?
It was uneven. Last week it was very uneven. I'm talking about offensive line play. Guys were not staying on the deuce blocks. They weren't going up to the linebackers, getting to the second level. Fredericks got knocked back in some key situations, short yardage key situations. So last week was just not a good week for the offensive line. This week here, it was much better. But they were behind. They don't care about you running as much as people would think. Green Bay, that's kind of a camouflage. If you rush for 170 without 4 touchdowns, they don't care because they're going to score 4 touchdowns. And that's what it took today. Our offensive line played okay. Zeke ran okay, but they were too big of a hole.
Yeah, if the tables were flipped, we would have seen Ezekiel Elliott with 107 yards and maybe 4 touchdowns, you know, running the football that way. Again, I'm the guy, I like running the football. I like trying to have the balance and all that. But again, I'm seeing what these receivers are doing. I'm seeing Amari Cooper get open consistently against one of the better cornerbacks in the league in Alexander. You know, last week it wasn't that way. This week it was. And I think maybe because Michael Gallup was back in the lineup too, I think maybe that helped him on some stuff down the field. We saw the capabilities of the plays they make. If they can protect up front, this allows Dak Prescott to throw the football. They rallied back in this game on the arm of Dak Prescott. It's a shame, though, the early turnovers, though, hurt them in that badly in this game.
We're going to go back after this break and take a look at the first half and hear more from Dak Prescott later on in the show here on Cowboys OT. Don't go anywhere. Okay, here we go. First half highlights, talking about all of it, missed opportunities, missed field goal, interceptions, things like that. Slow start, is that what you're calling this thing? Or are you just calling it a game plan issue or a not focused issue or a bad tackling issue?
That was a bad pass. I mean, he should have caught the ball, yeah, but it was a bad pass. It would have been a good catch if he'd have made the catch, but I felt he'd have took it to the house if he'd have got it out front.
Green Bay off the field. Yeah. You know, they get Green Bay off the field, and then they're driving the ball, and then they have that happen to them, and then all of a sudden that's just allowing Aaron Rodgers to come right back into this thing. Nice job though by not a nice job, but a bad job. That's what we're talking about, Nate. The protection was kind of a problem early in the first half. Absolutely poorly.
seemed like the Cowboys defense, they were the ones asked to keep them in this thing because it seems the offense couldn't score. They were turning the ball over. But what is up with the just state that they were in today?
The missed tackles. When you go out Aaron Rodgers, you have to put him on the ground. He can slip out of things. Then when you got blocking like that, when you can play two things, when you can run and pass, you're unstoppable. And that was they were today.
Right there. That's a great example right there. Vander Esch is on his back in the end zone, and we've seen Leighton Vander Esch do a much better job attacking. And I'm not just picking on him. The defense, the entire defense had problems with the physical nature of what the Packers came with today.
He just misread the coverage on that play right there. He just misread the coverage.
Well, looking at what we're seeing here, Dak Prescott, a lot of pressure on him.
He was under siege the whole game.
The whole game is Tyron Smith and Lyle Collins. I mean, that is a huge difference out there.
Oh, it is a huge difference, and but give Brandon Knight some credit for going in at right tackle when it could have been just. I thought they were going to kick Connor Williams to the outside, and they said no, let's go ahead. This right here is big. To me, when you miss field goals, that's like a turnover. That's
54 yards. Are you asking
too
much?
But no, I don't.
Yeah, but then you tack on the 7 yards from where they're marking it at where you kick. That's a big turnover.
That is a big turnover. But to me, though, where we've seen him, it's like the 33-yard field goals we're worried about, which he missed. The 54-yard field goals are the ones he seems to hit. So yeah, I mean, Garrett obviously felt like that, in talking to Keith O'Quinn, the special teams coach, hey, he can make a 54-yard field goal if we have to trot him out there. He just didn't get the job done tonight. And, we talked about this. We opened the show. Now Will McClay needs to ask the question. Now the coaching staff needs to ask the question, what do we need to do now? Do we feel confident enough to going into games with this current kicking situation? If they don't, then let's see who they bring in to work out.
Does it seem to you all that the team is getting off to slow starts for different reasons every week, or why do you think this keeps happening?
The third quarter of these games, they've been outstanding. They had an opportunity.
Their adjustments.
Absolutely. You get that field goal for half, and then all of a sudden you get the ball to start the second half, and now you're rolling along here. You got a swing, trying to get a little momentum back. They'd been outstanding. Dak Prescott had a perfect quarterback rating going into the third quarter. So the third quarters haven't been the problem. The Packers are a fast starting team. They've scored like 48 points, giving up 3 in the first quarter. So, you kind of maybe expected something like that was happening, but it was too big of an avalanche.
It's just, I agree with you 100%, Ms. You got to come out in the first quarter against a team of this nature. And even team last week we played, you got to come out and you got to score. You got to build up some type of rhythm and get going. So third quarters won't be a make or break quarter. The last 2 weeks, third quarters has been our make and break quarter. And we haven't sustained that going into the fourth. It seemed like we played good in the third quarter, but we got to start opening up games in the first 5 minutes with some type of score to get your confidence up. Or make a play, get a big turnover, anything, but you got to starting fast because the teams you are playing are very good. We're not playing any hopscotch teams down the stretch.
Yeah, they did a great job against Alvin Kamara last week in the run game and kind of limiting him to what he could do. And then in this game, you felt like, well, maybe, Green Bay averaging 3 yards a carry, and hadn't run the football, hadn't even tried to run the football. And that was what the difference was. Jason Garrett told you, though, the physicality which the Packers play. What's more alarming to me is the fact that the front seven for the Dallas Cowboys did not match the intensity of what the Green Bay Packers and that running back threw at you today.
Yeah, it seemed, I can't believe he ended up with the yardage he did. I thought it was a lot more
because
tough. It seems like every time he got the ball, it was 5, 8, 12 yards every single time. And I don't understand, with the way the defense has been playing, why that kept happening.
Well, the one thing that had the problem is when you play against them, what are the problems we always talk about with the Cowboys? Teams try and run the football on.
Right.
And when teams have success running the football, the defense just crumbles. And that's a big problem. And that has to, that's about, your guys. Now, maybe missing Antoine Woods in there. Maybe Antoine Woods coming back. Playing the Jets. We'll see. I'll sit down and watch the tape. I hope the Jets, they've got Le'Veon Bell as a running back. I don't know. I haven't seen Le'Veon Bell play very much this year, but we'll see. Maybe the Jets determine, we can run the football because Dallas did a poor job of handling that physicality today.
All right, we will talk more about this Cowboys defense right after this break here. More to come on Cowboys OT. Welcome back into Cowboys OT. We want to get in to talk more about this defense, but a quick update. I'm seeing on Twitter that Jerry Jones says that they're optimistic about La'el Collins' knee, something they need to get some further evaluation on, but sounds good early on. That could be huge for this offensive line. Yeah. Got the bye coming up in 2 weeks. They say it always comes at the perfect time, but let's talk more about the Cowboys defense. Was Tyrell Crawford back in the mix for the first time tonight?
He was, and and they were expecting him to play as that rotational 3-technique defensive tackle, and they just, it appeared to me that some of the things that was going on is you watch the ball right there through the middle of that defense. That's Kerry Hyder in there. That's Covington right there at the end of the tackle. So yeah, they had some problems inside. The Packers did a really nice job of kind of handling the inside guys there for the linebackers and the 2 defensive tackles.
Chris Covington, Malik Collins, Tyrone, Hyder, all of these guys were supposed to be in there. All of them are supposed to be more than adequate run stoppers, and it just did not happen. As you see right there, he was deep into their secondary before somebody could tackle. Our linebackers are excellent when they're coming downhill, but whenever they have to run lateral or run a hump, as we would say, they're not very good tacklers, and they can't get on the players real quick. Like you see right there, he gets outside because our linebackers is not coming downhill like we would normally see them do.
Yeah,
and why was
open
that?
field tackles.
I want to know why. Because I saw some things from the linebackers tonight, like them getting stiff-armed that I'm not used to seeing from this dynamic duo.
Yeah, we were not balanced.
Yeah, I felt like I say, they both ended up with 9 tackles, and sometimes stats are a little misleading right there, but they had to make plays. There's a play that's just too far down the field right there. Aaron Rodgers, complete balls. Byron Jones, he had some problems out on the edge too. The ball bounced the outside. See right here how the ball, there it goes.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, that's a problem right there. If you've got contain and you've got force, you've got to make that play right there. Once again, there's a Woozier. You got to make that play. That turns into like a 14, 15-yard run if you allow the ball to bounce outside the way they did.
Right here.
All right, I'm still watching the same thing you guys are.
Well, yeah, and they give LaFleur a lot of credit for what they're able to do right there. The way he called that game. Aaron Rodgers understands too what's going on too with the screens and stuff. Nice job of kind of the distribution of the football.
When you have a guard in the center moving off the ball and moving the down lineman back, the linebacker has to make a split decision whether he's going to run back behind it or he's going to run over the hump. And either way, against a good running back, you lose. Because you come back door, the guard just comes off and pick you off. You go over the hump, then the running back just bends it right back behind you. So it was a 2-way goal for Jones all day long.
There were a lot of green jerseys on top of white jerseys today. A lot of them. And, and you look at that even on the second level, and, that you can't have that. The coaches, you watch practice, they'll tell you, play with your hands, shed, get rid of guys, get to the ball, play gap integrity, all that. If the Packers surprised them running the football, then shame on the Dallas Cowboys front 7 for not doing a good enough job of saying, okay, we're going to get off blocks and make these plays. But that to me just was that was the most troubling thing, that how easily that Green Bay was able to run the football today. That to me was, and for a team that just had not had any success doing it, that was a problem.
Packers undefeated at AT&T Stadium, even in their Super Bowl win. And when it comes down to it, we're talking about all these little things and mistakes back and forth. Packers were 4 of 5 in the red zone. And Bryan, you mentioned at the top of the show, the Cowboys on their first 5 possessions got no points.
Yeah.
Starting off slow and not executing and making turnovers. I said it during the game, Aaron Rodgers can beat you alone when you're having your perfect day. Right. When you're playing amazing, he can still beat you. So if you give him 3, 4, 5 extra opportunities, you're basically looking at a loss. History will tell you that.
You never worry about what's around Aaron Rodgers. You worry about Aaron Rodgers.
Period.
That's what you stop first and foremost. And you match his thunder, you match his intensity, because he is the pace setter for his team, offensively, defense, and special teams. As you see him walking off the field, whether it's the defense out there or the offense, he's a very alert and astute person, and he's always up on every move that is going on. And he knows the flow of the game. And that's what separates him from most guys. He will walk up and coach will call one thing. He was like, nah, I don't think so. I'll give it to Jones this time because I feel like that's the flow of the game. This dude he's unreal.
Yeah, I think this too. But again, it's a lot of, I just focus on the Cowboy offense too. Just a lot of missed opportunities. Just, where the drive started, where drives ended, the turnovers. There were so many things that just went wrong for this team offensively. Now, again, the yards look great and all that. They attacked. They did what they had to do. But you just look at where drives were halted. On the Green Bay side of the 50, and they're just coming away with no points. Just too many wasted opportunities for drives that could have ended in points. You could have put a lot of pressure on the Packers. You just didn't. They put a lot of pressure on you.
All right, when we come back, I'm told we have Dak Prescott at the podium, so we'll let you hear from him after a disappointing performance. Very close, but no win for the Cowboys. We'll hear from Dak next. We are back here on Cowboys OT, and guys, we've all been around Dak Prescott. No one is going to take this loss harder than him. I mean, he's very hard on himself.
Sure.
So let's see what he has to say at the podium after tonight's loss.
Talk about how the game started and falling to that big of a deficit early.
Yeah, that's when you do that, you put yourself in a hole and you put yourself in a position that no matter how hard you fight, no matter how good things you do in the back end, it's hard to come out of that against a good team like they are. And we start off that first drive moving, have that turnover, and then after that, a couple of more. And as you just said, you put yourself back like that. It's a good team we're playing. It's hard to come all the way back from that and get on top.
What did you see in the fourth quarter, which you guys are making a comeback at 31-17, and you had that one there?
I think I saw what everyone saw. Seeing a guy very handsy, mugged, throwing it, pretty sure it's going to get a call or something comes out of that, and it doesn't, move on.
Amari was asked about his career-high receiving yardage, and first thing that he said was the drop early that resulted in interception and ultimately a touchdown. You had a career-high day as well. For you, what stands out?
Follow Amari right there. I had three interceptions. I don't care how many yards I had or anything else like that. 3 interceptions on a loss. I don't care what career high I have. None of that matters. And Amari's saying that, I think, is an example of a lot of guys in our locker room, a lot of guys in our team who look in the mirror before they point fingers. And as long as we have those type of guys on our team, we're going to be fine. We're going to keep getting better. We're going to be able to take things like this, take them on the chin, learn from them, and get better because of it, simply because of that attitude.
5 weeks after the season, where do you think you guys stand as a team?
A team that's got to get better and got to start fast on offense. Got to play better complementary football than we have these last 2 weeks. But there's a lot of football to be played. Definitely a lot of football to be played. A lot of plays to be made, and we're not shy of making them. We're not backing down. As I said, we'll take this one on the chin. We're gonna take the good, take the bad. We're gonna learn from it, and hopefully we'll look back at this and say this was a turning point, or this was good for us.
As a quarterback, learn from it and win. No, I'm not trying to be funny. You can't. If you 4 games in or 3 games in, and you played 5 games, you had 3 losses, and you continue to say we're going to take this and we're going to learn from it, you kind of getting out of the playoffs. You're kind of going to be a 10-16. You kind of be a 9-17. You can't do that. The teams that we have played and lost to are going to be in the playoffs.
Absolutely, yeah. See, that's the thing I worry about the most is when you start, at the end of the day, you're going to add them all up, and then you're going to say, okay, where do you stand? Where do you stand within the division? You look at really the next 3 weeks. I mean, they've got to make a quick turnaround here and get some things going the right way. Hopefully the Jets give you an opportunity. Then you got a huge game in Philadelphia. Then you got the bye and then a game against the Giants. So you better kind of figure some things out. The last 2 weeks, you've had a chance to kind of put a stamp on this NFC and say, we won at New Orleans. We beat a good Green Bay team that came in here, and now we're going to roll on from here. But instead, you've come back to the division. You've brought everybody back into this thing. And so now you better learn. You better learn. If you're telling me you're going to learn, you better learn.
All right, let's check in with Amari Cooper now. 226 yards in the air today for Amari. So huge day for him. But, of course, all he's thinking about is that first drop. Here's more from Cooper.
Your performance even though you guys lost the game, how you seem to be quite a bit open.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that's really on my mind is the drop ball and the turnover it created. I feel like it gave them a lot of momentum in the game. And
could you talk about that play, how it happened, and what you were thinking, what the route was?
I got it. That's what I was thinking. Those are the first 3 words in football. You know what I'm saying? I felt like I had it. It was an easy catch. Took my eyes off of it because I was focused on the touchdown. And I dropped it, and it created a turnover.
When a play like that happens, mentally, is it something you just let go and forget, or is it something you kind of carry with you in the forthcoming plays?
I mean, you have to try your best to let it go. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I try to do.
Mark, the long touchdown. I mean, what did you see on that play? It made it seem like nothing was going to stop you from getting the end zone.
I mean, we just, we ran a double move. Guy kind of gave me an awkward look because I'm supposed to get outside of him on the move, but he was playing outside of me. And I just made it work, tried to get open. Actually, Dak made it work because he kind of, got outside the pocket and bought some time so that the play could develop. So that's it. That's sideline.
Amari Cooper, he's somebody that you want on your team. I mean, I don't know if his ankle was hurting or what tonight, but he gave it his all, and one of the most introspective guys.
You know what? And this is where you got to give the Dallas Cowboys a lot of credit for going out. They gave up a first-round pick for that guy, and all he's thinking about is, I've got to catch that football. I've got to catch that. I'm the reason why we got off to a bad start. And he put things behind him, and he went out there and he played his rear off the rest of that football game and did whatever he had to do. It was a tough game for the wide receivers because all with no running game, they weren't going to get a break. Every play they ran was a 40-yard sprint, basically. Mm-hmm. So give Amari Cooper a lot of credit. He got banged up during the game. What did he do? He missed one play, came back onto the field, continued to make plays. Yeah, it's unfortunate about that.
All right, we're going to take our final break here from OT. We'll wrap it up and look ahead for you at what the Cowboys have coming up in the next month right after this.
The Cowboys OT was brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Wendy's one and only spicy nuggets are back on the menu. Available at participating Wendy's for a limited time only. And by NFL Game Pass. You'll never miss a game again. Enjoy full access to coaches' film and game replays from Week 1 to the Super Bowl. Subscribe at DallasCowboys.com/Game Pass.
Bryan Broaddus is about to go upstairs and hit Game Pass and look at all the film from this evening.
Yes, I am.
Here's what we're looking at for the next 4 weeks for your Cowboys. Winless Jets. The Eagles is going to be tough. That's
Huge.
Sunday Night Football. Cannot even emphasize how big of a game that's going to be. And you really want that going into the bye, right? You want to have that good taste in your mouth. Go off on the right foot, Nate.
Play smart, play hard, stop the penalties, start fast, stop with the turnovers, and you will be successful. You have enough talent, and I think the coaching staff understands how to use everybody.
How are you feeling?
Win the next 3.
Just
win the next 3. That's what you got to do. Go out there and find a way to win the next 3. You've played well in one of the games, poorly in another game. You've lost the last 2. Better go find a way to win these next 3, and that includes that Philadelphia game here on Sunday night. You better find a way to do that. You need to take this control back of this division.
All right, you got one last sentence you want to say to the world?
Go Cowboys. That's all I could say.
Wow. In the words of Nate, wow. This is Cowboys OT. We'll see you guys next week after the Jets game. Wow.